It was a crisp Tuesday morning when the intimidation began. The sun had just risen over the horizon, painting my ranch in shades of gold and amber. I was enjoying a quiet cup of coffee on the porch, listening to the cows low in the distance and the wind rustle through the tall prairie grass. Life was peaceful, or at least it should have been. That peace shattered when headlights appeared at the edge of the property. A black SUV rolled up slowly, two men inside wearing dark uniforms with badges that gleamed in the morning sun. HOA police, the driver announced as he stopped at the gate. I laughed under my breath. HOA police, I muttered, as if that exists. Grandpa, sitting beside me, narrowed his eyes. They're here to intimidate you, he said calmly. Don't feed them, son. Let them prove their stupidity. I stepped down the porch stairs, hands in my pockets, and opened the gate just enough to let them in. The men strutted onto the driveway, confident in their fake authority. One of them, tall and skinny with a buzz cut, puffed out his chest. We're here to ensure compliance, he said, glancing at the barn, the fields, and even my vintage pickup truck parked nearby. Compliance with what? I asked, feigning confusion. This is my property. You have no authority here. Their response was to lean in closer, their voices dripping with condescension. We're authorized to enforce HOA regulations in the area. You've had complaints filed against you for trespassing. We're here to investigate. Grandpa's hand rested lightly on the edge of his chair, but his eyes sparkled with mischief. Investigate? Son, call the sheriff. Let's see how fast these HOA cops crumble when real law shows up. I smiled and reached into my pocket. The moment the fake officer was about to raise his voice, my phone rang. The caller ID read, Sheriff's Office. Hello, Sheriff Collins, I said calmly. Yes, son. The sheriff's deep, steady voice replied. I hear we have some unauthorized enforcement agents on your property. Some self-proclaimed HOA cops, I said, motioning toward the two men. They claim to have authority here. Perfect, the sheriff said. I'm on my way. Don't let them touch anything. I'll be there in 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, a marked sheriff's cruiser rolled up the driveway. Lights off but presence undeniable. The fake officers straightened, panic subtly creeping into their posture. They had come to intimidate me, but now the real law was on my side. The sheriff stepped out, tall, imposing, and calm. He carried the air of someone who had dealt with every type of nonsense in his career. Morning, gentlemen, he said, voice low but firm. I understand you're attempting to enforce HOA rules here? The tall officer stuttered. Well, yes, sir. You're trespassing. The sheriff interrupted, his gaze piercing. This is private property outside HOA jurisdiction. Your authority is null and void here. If you do not leave immediately, I'll have you cited for trespassing and harassment. The shorter man, now pale, tried to argue. But the sheriff's tone didn't waver. No, you didn't get to finish. Step off this property and leave any threats or claims of authority behind. Consider this a warning. Grandpa, leaning against the fence with a satisfied grin, whispered to me, Son, I told you, never underestimate the power of calling the real authorities. By now, the fake officers were gathering their things in a rush. Their confidence completely evaporated. Karen, yes, of course, she had orchestrated this, appeared behind them in a bright floral blouse, waving her arms and shouting, This is harassment. They were doing their job. The sheriff didn't flinch. Ma'am, your HOA has no law enforcement powers. This property is private, and any further attempts at intimidation will be met with legal action. I suggest you leave now. Karen stomped her foot, sputtering, but she obeyed. The two fake officers jumped into their SUV and peeled away, leaving nothing but tire tracks and a faint smell of fear in the morning air. I looked at the sheriff, relief and gratitude mixing with laughter. Thank you, Sheriff. I didn't even have to touch them. The sheriff nodded. Sometimes the best way to deal with fools is to let real authority handle them. And don't worry, I'll be keeping an eye on any HOA complaints filed against you. They won't last long. Grandpa clapped me on the back. That's how you deal with people who think they run everyone else's life. Let them step into real law and watch them crumble. By the afternoon, word had spread through the subdivision about Karen's failed intimidation attempt. She became the laughingstock of the neighborhood, and the HOA board quietly distanced itself from her antics. Life returned to its peaceful rhythm. The cows grazed, the wind whispered through the tall grass, and my coffee tasted sweeter than ever. And every time Karen tried to stir trouble, someone only had to whisper, "Remember the sheriff?" And the room would burst out laughing. Lesson learned. Fake authority doesn't stand a chance against the real thing, especially when it shows up right at your doorstep.